once again, thank you for joining us tonight. And we wanted to talk about the winery you work for, Pago de Vallegarcía, and about yourself and your career, and obviously also about Grandes Pagos de España tonight. And last week we had Bibi Garcia from Cotillo Los Aguileres, and I already discussed with her that there are quite some similarities between the project in the south of Spain and your project, but we will talk about that a little bit more later. First of all, maybe for the people that don't know you and don't know the winery, a short introduction from your side about yourself.
Well, but I am Adolfo Hornos. I'm an agricultural engineer. I have a master in enology and viticulture, and I work in Vallegarcía since the beginning of the project. My first responsibility there was planting the vineyard in the end of the 90s, beginning of the 2001. And I start with the viticulture, that's all, because we don't have winery at this time. And I managed the vineyard for 5 years, just to test the quality of the grapes and the potential of this specific terroir. I make the wines I sell the grapes. The main production is I sell to other wineries during the first 5 years, and I make just a few liters of wine in very close to us, in our neighbors. Deza El Carrizal is also another winery in this area, and they are also members of Grandes Pagos de España. And I rent there some tanks, and during 5 years I make just to check or to test the potential of quality of the wines. Well, this is more or less my experience there. And in 2005 we start the building of our new winery, and at this time I have a new responsibility, is to manage the project and to start the winery production. And after that I became the general manager of the company, and we start the sales all around the world. And at this time, and since 2007, I'm the winemaker, I am the grape grower, the commercial manager.
You're responsible for everything.
Sometimes the tractor driver. Depends the day and the moment. The winery.
Oh, that's good. You stay connected to the whole winery. Everything, you're in contact with everything.
And the brief history, a little history about the winery. This is a family business. It's not the main business of this family. The owner is Mr. Alfonso Cortina. He was a very well-known businessman in Spain. He was the CEO of a petrol company, Repsol, in Spain, and he's a declared collector of very good wines. Probably is one of the best collector of. He has one of the best collection of French wines in Spain. He is passionate by Bordeaux and Burgundy wines, and he owns an amazing collection of wine. He was also he's very close friend of Rothschild family. He was the vice president of Rothschild Bank. And it's a pity, but Mr. Cortina dies due to the COVID in 2020 in April.
Okay.
And well, now his two sons are in are now the new president and vice president of the company. And in the beginning was Mr. Gotina has this passion for wine, and he owns a big property for hunting. Vallegarcía is a very big, property. Estate. We own more than 3,600 hectares in total, but mainly is mountains and bush, and is for deer hunting. And we plant there. In the beginning, in 1999, we plant 24 hectares of vines, and we grow during this.
When there was nothing, there was no vineyards, anything like that.
This area is not an area for grapes. There is no.
It was not destined for wine.
There is no history of winemaking in this region because it's a very isolated area. There is not too much people there. The density of population is is minimum, and also we have the problem of the deers and the wild boars. We have a lot in this area. And
because they eat the fruit, the grapes.
In Dehesa Carrizal and also in Vallegarcía, both are hunting properties. We have to put fences all around the vineyard to protect the vines against the animals, but otherwise,
if you don't do that, then they will come and eat, and they will eat the plants
and the grapes. And it's not compatible to the vines, the sugar and the aromas.
But this is a project that started out of a passion, more or less. So it's the passion of a man and his family, and then it's now continued by his sons. But like you said, in this area there was no history of winemaking, and a little bit later we will talk about the kind of grapes and wines that you make, but because this is also a very typical choice, I would say. But a lot of people will ask the question, okay, it's nice that you have the vision to start a winery, but if you are in an area where there is no history about winemaking, and it's not like the first area you think of, how do you know that it's interesting enough to start a vineyard? You had a lot of research on that as well before you started doing it.
Yes, there is no history, but the climate and the altitude above the sea level and the climate is good, because we have probably is the area in the center of Spain where we have more rain. We have more than 600 liters a year. This is more than the rest of La Mancha, probably the double of the rest of La Mancha. And also in Ribera del Duero is more or less 400 liters, and here we have 620 liters per year. And
so a lot of rainfall
during spring and fall season. During the summer is very dry and sunny, and this is very good for the quality of the grapes.
So you got good growing conditions, but also a lot of in the soil there is enough water due to the rainfall to make the grapes grow. And
it's a viticulture in high altitude. We are more or less 900 meters above the sea level, 850 to 900 meters above the sea level. And it's
because for the people that don't know, we are talking about plateau in Spain, so in the center really of Spain under Madrid, I would say. So this is the like you said, the altitude area, the southern part of the plateau. What we're talking about, La Mancha under there.
It's not.
So it's really on a higher level.
It's the corner of La Mancha, the northwest corner of La Mancha, and there we have a chain of mountains called Montes de Toledo. It's Toledo Hills. This is the oldest mountains in the Iberian Peninsula. It's very, very old mountains. This is why they are not too high, but And we are also in the plateau. We are in the plateau. The plateau in the center of Spain is more or less 600 meters above the sea level, and with the mountain we are 900 meters above the sea level. And
so you really get
yes,
the altitude effect
yes,
for the vines and for the grapes to what they need for the acidity as well.
And also I think that one of the most important things there is the acidity of the soils. We have a very low pH in the soils. This is not very common in the wine world. Normally, the wine world is in calcaire soils, and this is totally the opposite. We have no carbonates in the soil, and it's very strange soils for vines. But the quality is good. It's very, very good.
But did you already have this feeling, or when you started it, you have the feeling, because you have to do the research for the soil, obviously, but was there already the feeling without doing the research that in terms of the soil that this would be a good area, or is there indication that you guys had, or was it just, okay, you did the research and then you found out?
I started working in the beginning with a catedrátic of viticulture called Richard Smart. He's an Australian professor of viticulture, and he has a lot of experience because he works in Australia, in Chile, in United States, in France, and he advised us in order to select the vines and also the rootstocks for the first plantation. But this is why in the beginning, during 5 years, we test the quality of the vine, because we have no history and we have to taste. Mr. Cotina said, well, I can invest for him an investment in planting vineyard, just 24 hectares is not a very big investment. And he tried really, and we tried some varieties like the Viognier, where in Spain there is no experience in Viognier. We are the first winery producing 100% Viognier in Spain. And, this is just an idea to try if it's good or not. But at the beginning, at the end, I think it was a good investment,
But you said it was important for the first years that you did the full cycle and you did the production, but you didn't want to go in the market because you don't really know what to expect. You have to also see the aging effect of the wine, obviously. So it's good that you sold some of the grapes, but you also made the wine so that you could see how it evolved after, I don't know, 2-3 years even, not just when it came into the bottle.
During these 5 first years, my work is more scientific, more than yes,
you're more than a
researcher, and to learn about the terroir, and to learn about, because I said always that I am the pioneer in this terroir. I am making a new terroir.
Yeah, there is no track record.
And the terroirs, there is always someone who starts, and in this case, it's me who started this project. In this.
Did this attract you as well to the project? So was this one of the things that attracted you of working together on this project? The fact that you were pioneer and this is a totally new environment.
But in the beginning, I don't imagine that 20 years later, because I started there in 2000, and 21 years later, I am now in selling wines. All our
now general manager.
I was a young agricultural engineer, but at the end, I have a very good feeling with Mr. Cotina, with the owner. Really, during these 20 years, I worked with him, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about not only the wine business, the business in general, and also he was really, really a very special person with a great feeling about the wines, and also not only the wines, but also the food. He's a very a connoisseur with, he knows the wines.
Culinary levels and pairing
he's
of the
very
food
well
and the
known.
wine.
All the restaurants in Spain, he was one of his more fidel, customers. He has a very good reputation in Spain in restaurants and in the wine industry too.
It's very interesting because, I mean, obviously you hear more about projects of people that have money that think, okay, I want to have my own vineyard. Mostly they buy a vineyard and then they make it their own vineyard. This is started from nothing, so from scratch. But the passion is not just the passion of creating this unique project. It's also it had to be a viable business project. I mean, he did not do it for himself. Just it needs to be the quality level that you can be successful in the market as well. This was also a goal.
Yes,
for him.
yes. He's passionate by the wine, but also the first thing, he is a businessman, and he is expert in numbers.
This was also important
for him.
For
This
him.
is the most important. He always said. Make money every day is one of the best sports we can practice every day, and for him,
So no decision is made. No decision is made without thinking about the business.
He's always thinking in business, but he is very proud of his wines. He continue increasing his collection of wines. He consume also the wines of his own wines, but he continue tasting wines all around the world and tasting wines in Spain.
So he was always building his palate still when even on the higher age. He was not stopping to experience new wines.
Yes.
Okay, so I think it's important to mention, just for the people that are watching. You can still not see me, or is it now? Do you still have no camera?
No camera with you. I have a circle doing like this, but it's okay. No problem.
Okay, well,
probably I don't know.
I hope the other people see it, but they can tell me if they don't see me, because if they see nobody, not me, and also not you, then they have also.
I check, and my wife is with another phone, and
she can see it.
You. Yeah, no problem.
Perfect. Because then she will see that I have this nice bottle in my hands, which is a Viognier that you sent me. You were kind enough to send me also some of the other wines, and we obviously in time will do a nice review of them. We're very curious about them. But today we're going to talk about the Viognier, and the Viognier is, like you said, actually you are the first winery in Spain actually to produce a Viognier wine. When we talk about the portfolio, and in a few minutes we're going to do the tasting for this particular one. But when we talk about portfolio, it's a lot of French varieties. You started with the French. The first plantings was only French, I think. So in 2018, if I'm correct, you planted also other varieties.
Yes.
So what do you have at the moment?
At the moment, in the vineyard, we have now 50 hectares. The first 24, we have just four varieties. We have 3 reds and 1 white. The reds are Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, and Merlot, and the white is the Viognier. This is in 1999. In 2005, I plant Cabernet Franc and Petit Verdot, and in 2017, I plant more Cabernet Franc, more Cabernet Sauvignon. And also I plant more or less 7 hectares with 3 Spanish grapes, with Grenache, Carignan, and Mourvedre. This is the 3 Spanish grapes. Now at this moment, they are very young vines. I don't make wines with these grapes at the moment. In the future, probably I will make another wine with. Still Côte du Rhône or Châteauneuf du Pape with Syrah, Grenache, Carignan, Syrah, Grenache, Mourvedre. a wine like this.
So when you started this first wave of grapes, it's a Bordeaux blend. You do monocepage
Yes.
as well for Syrah, I think, or
Syrah.
which ones do you
Yes,
monocepage?
At this moment, I have 4 wines. 2 wines are Bordeaux blends with Cabernet, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, and Petit Verdot. And like in Bordeaux, I make a first wine and a second wine. And I have 100% Viognier in white and 100% Syrah in red. All of them are aging in barrel, the whites and the reds. And this is my portfolio. Now we work with international grapes. And why? Because in this area there is no vines, no autochthonous vines. We have no varieties in this land, and is so
it's a blank canvas when you started, so you could choose.
I can choose because at Tempranillo there is never Tempranillo in this area, and there is never a Cabernet Sauvignon there. Why we plant Cabernet? And because probably the taste of Mr. Cortina was French wines, and this is why we start with this. And in this moment in 2000 in Spain, we plant a lot of international grapes, and
so it's a trend, not just only with you, but in general in Spain. It's nice because I just grabbed the other bottle, one of the other ones. I just wanted to show it to everybody. This is the you say a first growth and a second growth. So the Hyperia is the first growth, if I'm correct. And that's the one, the Bordeaux blend that you produce your flagship. Well, it's always difficult to say, but maybe I should say flagship wine. If you don't agree, you can tell me. But it's the most important, maybe for you. And your second one is the
Petit.
Hyperia, correct? Or
yes. Just the Petit,
Petit, so it's easy to recognize. A small and a big horse.
That's right. Yeah, it's like we choose Petit like in France we have Mouton, Petit Mouton, Château l'Église, Petite Église, and this is why we put Hyperia and Petit Hyperia for the second one.
So very clear for people to recognize. So, and that's an important one, and like I said, I'm also very curious about that. So we're going to review that one later. But it's a really gorgeous designer labels. But also one question I had, and then we will go to the Viognier. There is horses on the labels, and it's a symbol of the winery. So I was thinking maybe deers, because there are so many deers in the woods there. But you have horses. So what's the story about the horse?
Mr. Cortina was 2 passions: the wine and also the art. And this horse is a real. Is the profile of a real horse. Is a German or Swiss German horse from the 17th century, made in wood. It's more or less 1 meter and a half. Size, and this is one of the pieces he has in the main house in the property. He has a lot of paintings, and this is one of the pieces that he had in the winery.
So this is modeled. The logo is modeled from the horse that he owned, and this is in the estate.
If you visit
17th century.
If you visit our website, probably you can find a photo of the horse. Yeah, picture of the horse. Yeah.
Nice. No, I was curious because there must be a story behind it. It was also you could see it was a very old horse, so it's not like there's really a nice piece of art connected to that.
We have some horses in the property, but we have no.
They don't look like this
one. They don't look like this one. Yeah, different.
Very good. So. Today we have the bottle with the horse, the white horse, I would say. So the white horse is the Viognier, and It's the 2019. So I don't know if you have the same one open at the moment.
Okay.
But we're going to talk a little bit about that one. So for the people that are watching, it's always, I mean, I do this in the evening. It's always difficult with the color and the wine, but it is a nice golden color, very clear. But tell us a little bit about this, specifically about this wine.
Okay.
So what characterizes for you the Viognier that you produce?
I don't know if the people knows something about the Viognier. The Viognier is not a very famous grape. The Viognier, I don't know if you know the history of the Viognier, but in 1965 there is only 8 hectares of the Viognier all around the world. It's very
northern Rhone.
Yeah, the northern Rhone in Condrieu, and in Condrieu in Châteaubriand, and this is the only 8 hectares in all the world, and it's close to disappear because the Viognier is difficult to grow.
Yeah,
is a vine very difficult to grow. There's a lot of problems with the mildew and botrytis because the grape is quite big, and the grapes are also quite big, and it's difficult to manage the.
So the moisture can get trapped in the bunches, and then you get this diseases, the fungus, and etc.
And well, I think this is why the farmers don't want to plant too much Viognier, because it's quite difficult to manage, and and also the Viognier, you can find 2 kinds of Viognier in the world. You have the good ones and the bad ones, and that's all. And is the
nothing in between.
Nothing
Only
between.
really good,
they are very good or very bad. And this is a technical. You have a response for this. It is because the aromas and the flavors of the Viognier are synthesized. How to say in English? Synthesized in at the end of the cycle. They need to have a very deep ripe.
A long growing cycle.
And ripening cycle.
Ripening cycle.
That's right.
Is a better word.
And the good Viogniers normally have more than 13.5 degree alcohol. Lower than this, they are not so good because they have not the aromas. And this is why.
So the first thing you look when you see a bottle of Viognier, you look at the alcohol. And you see a low one, then it's indication that it's probably not the highest or best quality you can expect.
And make white wines with more than 13, 13.5, 14 degrees alcohol is not very commercial, But at the end, the Viognier is a low acidity wine. You don't have to search acidity in the Viognier. You have to search density. A lot of glycerin, alcohol,
viscosity,
and the color is a yellow, a gold color, and it's very special because it's a white wine for red drinkers, Normally the
That's a nice. I like how you say that. I never heard somebody saying that, but it makes sense to me.
I mean, the people that
it's not. I would not say. I mean, a lot of people that drink white wine. I mean, especially the people that don't drink a lot of different wine or not high quality or expensive wines. They try to stay on, let's say, more flat wines with not much character. If you want to, appreciate this, then you have to have a little bit developed palate as well. Otherwise, you probably don't get the excitement that is in the wine. Which, it takes, like you said, if you're a red wine drinker, you will better experience what this has to offer. I would say.
Yes, it's some Viogniers don't use oak. I use a little bit of oak for my wine because it's so dense that normally you don't need to add more density with the oak. But in my opinion, the tannin of the oak increase the complexity of this wine. This is really a wine for have a nice lunch and is a wine from the beginning to the end. You can blend this wine with many kind of dishes. I like this wine with the Asiatic cuisine, you know, Thai or Japanese or Chinese. I think is one of the best whites to have this kind of cuisine. And I think it's very, very different white wine.
It has a nice, the nice bitterness in the aftertaste as well, which makes it stay on your in your mouth because it's not disappearing the moment you're taking the sip. It's staying there. It's a nice long aftertaste with bitterness and almond.
Yes, and it's a wine that if you let the wine in the glass for 1 or 2 hours, at the end you come back and the wine increase the potential of aromas, and it's not like normally the white wines you lose the aromas very very quickly, but the Viognier is totally the opposite. It's like a red. The air in the wine
it retains the complexity.
Yes.
It even increases over time. Okay, that's in terms of the aromas we talked about. It's very aromatic wine as well. You have a lot of flower notes as well in the nose. In terms of the taste on the palate, what can people expect? You said already it's about the complexity, viscosity, so a little bit of oiliness. But what kind of flavor profile are we looking at?
In aromas, you will find apricot. Mango, this kind of tropical fruit, but also white flowers. In the mouth, it depends the year, but the young ones, you have the same this kind of fruit. We said in Spain, the fruit like apricot or how to say it.
Nectarine,
a bit of, but with time you feel some honey in the nose, and really it's a wine with it's a full-bodied white wine. You can have this wine with some.
Yeah, so also not drink it too cold because then you don't get all the excitement. It needs to be warmed up a little bit and opened, like you said, with air, exposed to air a little bit, and let's say not too cold.
Yes, it's for example for Christmas now with turkey or all this kind of birds. With
white meats.
You can have this wine. It's very nice. Yeah.
I can imagine even with because you're in the forest area, even with the rabbits and something like that. Also, they have some nice white meats, and you have to be careful with what the ingredients that you do the rabbits with. But if it gets too much, then maybe it's not a balance. But the meat itself, I think it's can be a nice combination. Yeah.
With sushi also.
So this is
sushi.
Also a nice pick. So this is the 2019 in terms of aging for these particular wines. I mean, it's great to drink now. There is still, I can taste there is quite potential to develop further. So I can imagine that if you put this away for 3 to 5 years, you will still get the new development in terms of the profile. But what is your experience? You now 20 years, sort of less 20 years with commercial productions, also with the Viognier, because it was one of the first, I think. So how does it develop?
Well, it depends the vintage. It depends the vintage. In the Spain, in this area, Madrid to the south, normally we have two kinds of vintage. We have the hot ones and the very hot ones.
Mm-hmm.
And the hot ones is for the aging. The very hot ones, maybe the maximum is 5 years of aging. Then the alcohol is too present in the
because it's too much.
And the normal years, that means the hot ones, close to 10 years is okay for this wine. It's another kind of wine, but it's more honey. You have the apricot begins a dry apricot, in the nose is more have more density. The color is increased, the oxidation, but it's a different wine. But I think it's very interesting. But we have to think that
but both types of vintages.
The Viognier is not an acid. It's not an acid variety. That means for the whites.
No. So for that reason,
the life in the whites is the acidity, and this wine that have not too much acidity. That means the life for this wine is the tannins, the aging of during the aging of in wood and okay, this one.
So maybe that helps also. That's why one of the reasons for you to use the oak as well, so as to give it some extra.
For example, we tasted 2 weeks ago the 2015, and it was very, very nice. The 2015, but 2016 is not so good now,
Yeah.
And 2005.
So can you say that these wines in both types of vintages that they have at least 2 lives, and then the question is how long? But there are 2 phases in this wine. You got the more fresh and open phase at the beginning, and then you get, like you said, the dried fruit that kicks in. So that's the second phase that you will get in the after some bottle aging.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So this is the Viognier. We already mentioned that you have some other single varieties or monocepage and also some blends. I wanted to talk also about the fact that you guys are it's the Pago de Vallegarcía. You're a DOP. So what's the process? Because for the people that don't know, and we already had some previous guests from Grandes Pagos, and then they also had the same situation like Tony Mosteguillo. He has the same status with his estate. Can you explain a little bit for those people that don't know how it works? Because it means sort of less you have your own appellation for the winery. If I can call it like
we
that.
have our own
I know it's a little bit different, but to make it simple for the people.
It's not easy to explain, but I can tell you that it takes time. It takes time. For me, it's more than 9 years to obtain my own appellation. It takes time because you have a process, technical process. You have to justify why your terroir is different than the other terroirs in the all around you. But for me, this is easy because we have no vines all around.
You don't have competition in the area.
We are in the middle of nowhere there, and this is not a problem for me. But
it's only the one winery that you work with together.
But you have to justify some differences about or something why you are different. In my case, is the soils are the oldest soils in the Iberian Peninsula. We have no carbonates. There is some things that are only you can find only in Vallegarcía, and this is normally the main facts was the soil. Also all the property. We are in probably one of the best Mediterranean forest in South Europe. We have many different kind of trees and animals and eagles and lynx and a lot of wild animals, and also a lot of different kind of vegetation all around in the surroundings. And we are very close to a national park, the biggest national park in Spain, called Cabañeros. And all these things, the climate, the special climate,
this whole setting makes it
unique this area. And this is, well, I make a very big dossier to justify all these differences. And at the end, and in the beginning, this process was in Spain, but now it's in Europe. We have to justify this in Europe, and it takes more time, and it's more difficult to obtain.
So it literally took you years to get through the process to obtain the status.
Yeah, and we obtained I started in 2008 or 2009, and we obtained in 2018. That means 9 years. Yeah, to obtain the
Yeah. It is also on the bottle, eh? It's mentioned on the bottle. I think you mentioned the date of the resolution.
It's in June 2018. I remember.
Very good.
To June
Correct,
2018.
Correct. Yeah. No, I mean, it's an amazing story. But my question would be, what happens if there is somebody that wants to open a winery close to you? So now you're alone or one of the only ones, and then somebody comes and says, okay, I'm going to make my own winery next to it with these same characteristics, more or less. Then how would they call it? I mean, they are not allowed to also name it the same DOP because it's your name of the winery in there. So how would that work?
No, they can't, because my DOP has a geographic limits. And the limits of this appellation,
so it cannot be
is
extended.
The property of Vallegarcía. Vallegarcía, I say, is a property, a big property.
So they will have to either get their own, or they have to take a general naming, generic,
like Vino de la Tierra or something like this. The only question may be if we sell a part of the property, and in this property, in the same property, but we build another project. But this is it's not the case. I don't think that is going to.
Of course, then it would be a very different situation. No, but in the case, I mean, you could have with the family company. Sometimes it happens that new generation takes over and they have 3 children or 5 children, and then they want to split, of course, maybe the domain, and then it's a different situation. But it's not applicable. It's just I was curious about it because it's really attached to the name of the winery, and like you said, it's geographically bounded, so you cannot say I expand it. Probably you have to ask them, the regulatory boards, for expansion of your DOP if you would want to build more vineyards attached to this, the ones that you have right now. Okay. For those people that are watching, I don't know if somebody still has some questions. They can put them in the chat. In the meanwhile, we're going to talk about the question that we got last week because, as I mentioned, we were talking to Bibi Garcia from Cotillo Los Aguilares. And the nice thing is that it's also a project that started more or less by passion from a family, and also doesn't have this long history. In the varieties, it's a little bit different, but also some similarities. But in what I liked about it, and what also was for me a lot of, I would say, things that are similar, is that they also have varieties that are not typical for the area. I mean, if you talk about the Petit Verdot and the Pinot Noir in Andalusia, okay, maybe now people will say Petit Verdot, and we talked about that. Petit Verdot might be for the future a very important grape in this area. But by history, it's not, and Pinot Noir is the same. And with you as well, you started with French varieties, that first of all there was no winery and no vineyards really, so that was new. But also the varieties are not from Spain; they're coming from France. So there was quite some similarities. So that was interesting to see and to talk about. But she also had a question for you about the climate, the climate change. And obviously, it's you can ask every winemaker about that now because it's affecting everybody sooner or later. But how do you see that how do you see that influencing your wines and vineyards, and what are the things you're doing to protect yourself for these changes in the climate? Is there...
Well, I have 21 years of experience in Vallegarcía. I make 21 harvest. In these 21s, I can make three kinds of harvest: the normal ones, the cold ones, and the hot ones. Maybe the hot ones are probably 50%, and the normal ones are maybe 40%, and have 10% of cold vintages. I don't know if in the future this percentage of hot harvest will increase or not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We have some. The thing is, in Vallegarcía, we have the surroundings. We have a lot of forest, and we have a moderation of the climate, forest around, and also the altitude in 900 meters. Also, we have this difference. And the mountains, we have a lot of rains normally due to the mountains.
Yeah, so it's sheltered as well.
And I don't feel this difference too much. In Spain, south of Spain, and we are in the south of Spain, but in the middle of Spain, we have to take care with the sun. But this is a normal technique in Spain, or in my case.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with the climate change.
We always
look at this.
Search some shadows in the grapes. Like in Bordeaux, you are against this. You have to have sun in the grapes, but here in Spain we have too much, and we have to cover a little bit. And the canopy of I manage my vineyard thinking in this illumination, but at the same time some shadow in the area of where we have the fruit. And I am very.
So every year you have different leaf management. It changes anyway every year.
I try to adapt, but I don't think we will see the changes. These changes in the next 10 or 20 years. Maybe my son or the next generation, maybe they can feel more this climate change. We have a climate change, but normally you feel this in the North Europe, in the south of the globe, but in this area it's not so. I don't know.
No, but you're right. You're very central in Spain, so you're surrounded. You're not close to the sea. You have altitude already. You have the coverage with the mountains and everything. So you have a lot of protection, which sort of moderates or controls maybe better the effects that there might be in the future.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We will see.
Sense,
we will see.
And in terms of the varieties, because you chose to do. But you chose to also go for some Spanish varieties. This is not the reason behind that. There is a different reason than that you choose that?
No, I choose that because I always say, I have always said just in some market, we say that why you don't have Spanish grapes. And this is this is the reason, no, to try to make a wine.
You're a
with
Spanish
a,
winery,
with a
so you
Spanish,
should
yes.
always be able
Yeah,
to
but
sell me a
it's
Spanish wine.
for example, if I have to plant a new vineyard, probably I don't plant Merlot in Vallegarcía because the cycle is too short, and maybe we have or search a Merlot with big more production, more productivity than not a clone of Merlot with very low. You need to have biggest grapes, and you have some capacity to manage the vineyard and to plant some varieties and to use some rootstocks and to have strategies with drip irrigation. You can act with a lot of factors to manage the vineyard correctly to obtain quality in hot years. And we have some hot years. 2000, I remember 2003, 2005. 2013 was 2017 was very hot, and you can act during this. You have a strategy in irrigation, a strategy managing the canopy of the vines.
Yeah, so this is already in your
there's
system.
some
It's not new
tools
to you.
that you
It's
can
already there.
use in agriculture to manage this.
No, but you're right. You're not. You also have a lot of Bordeaux grapes and Bordeaux blend you produce, but you're not like you don't have the same situation in terms of the situation where you're in is not the same as Bordeaux. Well, Bordeaux, you now have the debate, or it's not a debate. It's already decided that they, for the future, are allowing different varieties, all because they see they will have a bigger problem. The effects for them probably is going to be bigger, but you, in the long run, your chances of continuing with the grape varieties that you have right now, I think they're better. I mean, the effects are clearly not so strong as in Bordeaux that you have.
Yeah, probably, but don't say. For example, this vintage in Bordeaux was a
you never know.
Vintage like 30 years ago. But at the end, the best in the last from 2000 to 2010, you have a lot of amazing vintages in Bordeaux because it's quite hot.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have a year like this one. There is no sun during all the summer, and rains in September, and it's like in Bordeaux 50 years ago.
Well, there is a reason why they are the masters of blending in Bordeaux. I mean, they always find a way to adapt, and they always find a way to still make a great or a good always at least minimal but good vintage, and then on top of that, the great vintages. Yeah. Okay. I have a question about the Grandes Pagos España. So, what does it mean for you, the association? Can you explain us a little bit?
Okay. Well,
how do you see the association? Why it's important for you as well?
Well, you have to know that Vallegarcía is one of the 5 first wineries that found Grandes Pagos de España. In the beginning was Grandes Pagos de Castilla, and there is 5 wineries from Castilla-La Mancha, and Vallegarcía is one of them in 2000. And Mr. Cotina was one with Carlos Falcó and Paco Urides, was the pioneers in Grandes Pagos de España, and they found the association. For me, is in the beginning is an association to try to these little projects in Castilla-La Mancha to show to the world that we are something different at the rest of the big wineries in La Mancha. And little by little, Grandes Pagos de España now, for me, is a representation of the Spanish quality wines. We have wineries all around Spain, and the association is a very very good tool to communicate about the quality of Spanish wines.
And the stage as well for you.
It's Grandes Pagos de España. At the end, there is a lot of wineries wants to be member of Grandes Pagos. We are very we are proud that the wineries that are in Grandes Pagos de España are supervising. We are supervised by external tasters that certify that our wines have enough quality to be in the association. And at the end,
every year, right?
Year. And at the end, if you have a tasting with Grandes Pagos de España, really is a fantastic trip through the wines all around Spain. And for me, this is the most important thing in Grandes Pagos de España. The quality of the members.
It's nice that you mention it, because I totally agree, and this is the reason why we wanted to do this, because the idea was to show people the diversity of Spain, and also by uniqueness in terroir and uniqueness for wineries individually and regions. And a lot of people still think about Spain, and they think about Rioja, Tempranillo, maybe Verdejo, and that's it. And there is a lot more. So we already, now we are in episode 5. So we had already 4 different regions and also great varieties. And even today we talk about a unique project and with very high quality wines. So I think it's a great way for people to see that there is more. And although you don't have rules where you have to live by for you as members, you all share the same philosophy, more or less. And I think that's a great thing. That's what brings you together.
Yes. And we build a great how to say it, a picture of Spanish wines, but a very modern picture of the Spanish wine. It's not a traditional Rioja, Ribera, or Verdejo. There is a lot of.
In the end, it doesn't really matter which is the areas or the regions. It's never about that. It's more about the philosophy of the particular winery.
Yes, we produce the wine with our own grapes, and a lot of the wineries are now in biodynamic, or really we have very interesting wineries in producing amazing wines in different terroirs, different climates, different varieties, and really is a very, very interesting trip through the
people get a good taste of what is different in Spain and what they can see and what they can go and experience, and even in areas probably they maybe would not expect it, like where you are. And then it shows that you can come in the middle of nowhere, more or less, and then come at a beautiful estate, because we did not talk about it, but I saw the pictures and it's on the website. People can see it. It's really beautiful. Also the architecture and everything. So it's like oasis in the desert. It's not really a desert, but it's sort of an oasis in the woods, maybe in the forest, I would say. And it's a great great project.
We produce
I was really impressed first time I saw and I read about it. So
we have tremendous trees, very, very big trees. We have a lot of cork trees. We produce a lot of cork. We sell the cork of our trees. And it's very, very special area. Really, you can have a tour around the property, and it's amazing. You see animals and a lot of different kind of trees, and really it's a very, very nice property in the middle of nowhere, close to Madrid, 2 hours driving to the south. But really, we are in a corner of.
It's nice. People can just fly to Madrid and take the car and be in 2 hours with you.
We have an helicopter. If they want to come in helicopter, they
So,
can come.
so we're almost a helicopter. Oh, you have a landing
Yes,
spot for the
yes,
helicopter as well,
yes.
of course. Nice, nice. So we're almost at the end of well, we're at the end almost and of the interview. Um, for if somebody, I see Alfonso now is watching as well. So if somebody has still has some questions, you feel free to put them in the chat. And I have one final question for you before we wrap up, because we have now a Christmas break after tonight. So we will be back 14th of January. So we have a small break, but then we have the last episode. And then we're going to finish the tour in Spain for now. Maybe we will come back for a new series. But because there's more to discover, we cannot cover everything in 6 episodes for sure. But the guest for the 14th of January is the winery Castilla. And Jose Ferrer is going to be our guest, and is a winemaker. And I asked you to think about the question for Jose. So, what would you want to ask him? Is we are going up north for the people that have not read it yet. We're going really to the northern part of Spain, so it's very different. What would be your question?
Yes, Castilla is a very nice project in close to the Pyrenees in the north of Spain. But Castilla is owned by González Vías. It's a big company in the wine business in Spain. And my question for him is if González Vías is thinking in new boutique projects like Castilla or Finca Moncloa. Like Castilla or similar project in other areas in Spain or in South America. That is a big company, and I think they have big wineries, but also they have small ones, boutique ones. And my question for him is, they have other projects, this kind of small wineries.
That's an interesting question. I think when we talk on the 14th of January, we talk to him. Castilla is like you said, boutique winery. It's really unique. It's a very special location also as well, with unique terroir and everything. It's the region, or I would say the winery for the Garnacha. So the white and the red. So we're going to go to very different wines, and it's nice. This is the nice thing about the tour like this. So last week we talked about the Petit Verdot from the south. Now we are going in the French varieties and Bordeaux and Rhône style in the center. And next trip will be Garnacha and really up north. So it shows how diverse the group of wineries is in Grandes Pagos. And I'm curious about the answer to the question that Jose might have, because like you said, it's a part of a bigger concern, where everybody has their own freedom also to do their own project. So it's always nice to see and hear what other things they might be thinking of doing in the future as well.
Yes.
Okay, I have no questions coming in, so I don't know if you want to have a final note you wanted to say, or a final remark for the people that are watching.
No, I think Vallegarcía is not very famous winery in Spain, but we produce not yet.
Not yet.
No, but in the professional circle, yes. In the restaurants, we are a wine well known in restaurants, but we are very small property. And our wines are very different to Spanish wine. In a blind tasting, the people don't recognize the Spanish wines there. It's quite different, The Viognier is very special, the Syrah also, and the Bordeaux blends There is a very good journalist in Spain said the best Bordeaux in Spain was Vallegarcía. I don't know if it's true, but
That's a good compliment.
but I work with.
You take the
Yes,
compliment.
I don't talk about because we present the Viognier, but if you taste the blends, the Bordeaux blends, I work with Eric Boissonneau, and the people can Google who is Boissonneau, and I work with him since the last 12 or no more 14 years. We are very close friends. We have the same age, and he's a very close friend of mine, and I work with him. And he's very, very interesting guy to work with because he's really one of the top winemakers in Bordeaux.
So then I have a final question now to you, maybe then on this topic. If I would ask him how he would characterize or describe the Bordeaux blend that you guys made and that he was also part of this process around it. What do you think, or maybe you know what he would say about this, about Hyperia?
Well, Eric tried to search always the expression of the varieties and the expression of the terroir, and we search this. He don't compare the wines with other Bordeaux blends, for example. At the end, we search the essence of the spirit of the terroir, and we try to translate this into the bottle. We work in a Bordeaux way in the winery, and my training is more Bordeaux style, and we work in this way using the press wine and the oak and the assembling the wines in a very Bordeaux style. But when I work with him, we always search. We don't compare with other Bordeaux blends. We try to find the spirit of Vallegarcía and try to translate this in the bottle, in the wine.
So what would be the spirit?
Sorry?
Maybe it's difficult to put in words because it's. I would say, what would if you then? I mean, that I totally understand, but then the question is, what would be the spirit, particularly that is the expression.
The expression.
The terroir in this one. It's difficult to put in words.
Yes, it's difficult. Because we are Mediterranean, but at the same time, an Atlantic wines. We are elegant, but at the same time, we have. It's a full-bodied red wine. We search the finesse, but at the same time we have the freshness, and it's we try to. For me,
so like a chameleon.
For me,
maybe.
is the try to make fine wines, elegant wines. The elegance for me is the most important.
Refined.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm very curious, Adolfo. I mean, we're going to taste for sure in short time the Hyperia, so we're going to put a review on. And but I'm already now. I want to open now the bottle, but I'm going to wait a bit because I'm enjoying the Viognier. So we're going to do it on a later stage. But I'm very curious. So stay tuned. Also, people that are watching. And then they can read about the Bordeaux blend that you make. And you also sent me the Shiraz, so we're also going to taste that in time. I want to thank you very much because it's been a great story. You have a great project running over there. And I think people, when they were reading about the guest list for the season, this was a winery they would not expect, probably, even if they read the story about French grapes, Bordeaux style, center of Spain, no heritage in terms of wineries, and then you get this great result. I mean, like you said, you're maybe not famous yet in the world, but you're working very hard, and you have a good product, and you have a good quality. So I think it's a matter of time before it gets known on I would say, bigger stage internationally.
Yeah,
I'm curious how people will experience
Philippine
this
de
wine.
Rochine, the owner of Moudon Rochil, said me one time, the worst years for a winery are the first 200. After that, everything is easy.
That's a nice one. You build. I will add one to that. You never built a winery for yourself. You built it for the generations after you. Because, I mean, you said now you have 20 vintages, and I mean, this is all for winemakers. You always get one shot every year. So if you get, I don't know, if you become 60 or 70, and then you have to stop because the work becomes too hard, that means that you have 40 or 50 shots in your life, and 40 or 50 different vintages every time. So you're not doing it for yourself. Your son, maybe, or your sons or daughters, they will come maybe and play a role in the winery, and this is. You built a legacy. It's for the next generation and the generation after that. And yeah, like you said, it's not short term for sure.
Yeah, it's a long term business. Yeah, good.
That's it. So thank you, Adolfo.
Thanks to you.
It was a great talk, and people go to the website. Better even go to visit the winery, but when they can, of course, it would be a great experience. And enjoy the wines and try the wines. And we're going to post a review so they can read about it. And once again, we have the question for Jose. So after the Christmas break, we will ask him about that. And I wish you a great evening.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching tonight.
Thank you very much. Bye.